Okay, everybody, nice for you to join us on this session this morning from, this afternoon on House of PMO as we talk about the new online self-assessment tool for the PMO competency framework. You've got a couple of us here today, and for me, I'm Lindsay Scott, one of the co-founders of House of PMO, and also, the instigator of the PMO competency framework about 3 years ago, and it's obviously become one of our core staples here at House of PMO. So that's me, Melissa.
I'm Melissa. I work for House of PMO, and I think we decided I'm in the attic or the basement of the house, or maybe the shed, but we're not quite sure.
Yeah, we had a bit of fun trying to work with the analogy of a house. It's like, where are people fitting? If you're working with the tools, you should be out in the tool shed. Let's get going. So today's agenda is up on the screen now. So we're just going to give it a little bit of a background to the PMO competency framework. I know some of you have obviously got the book already, and you've been looking at that. But it's just a bit of background, a bit of ground into what we're going to be looking at today. We'll go into the competency self-assessment. We'll look at the tool in more detail. We'll do some demos on that tool. And then just talk a little bit about the membership, which I know obviously a lot of you on this session have already got the membership and therefore can start using the tool straight away. But for others that are just that are here, just to understand what it's about before you might take the plunge and join us, and then we'll just show you a bit about how to get started. So in terms of the competency framework, like I said, been 3 years in the making. We did launched in February, and essentially what we've got there is 24 competencies in 4 different domains, which you can see on the screen, which is P3M administration, PMO management, P3M delivery support, which is the largest domain, which is the areas where PMO is supporting project and program delivery, and the P3M enabling, which is all about those things that the PMO does to set the ecosystem for that organization to deliver its project successfully. So that's where you get things like the delivery methods that we use, the capability tools, which is obviously where competency frameworks sit. They sit very much within that capability development side of things. So I'll put my teeth back in. So today's session is all about how you can do your self-assessment against those competencies. The other thing about what was pretty unique about the competency framework, because it is PMO, is that it has those 4 different contexts of project, program, portfolio, and center of excellence. And we also have 4 proficiency levels, which is foundation, intermediate, advanced, and expert. So these are just reminders, because you're going to be seeing these things in the tool. So these are the contexts of which PMO people work within, and also the kind of levels of competence levels that they have. What we'll also be looking at is the knowledge areas, the skills, and the behaviours as well. So we're not just assessing yourself against the competencies from the competency framework, but also the knowledge, skills, and behaviours that are also within the book. So before we get into the whole self-assessment side, I thought it'd be useful to say, well, why do we do these things? Why do we even want a self-assessment? Because I remember when way back when we working in PMO, and the only thing that was available at that time was to do a self-assessment against a project management competency framework. And I remember at the time thinking, this is really good for not only trying to do a self-assessment, but it's got other uses as well. And I always felt a bit, I don't know, just felt like a poor relation that, why didn't we have one for PMOs? Because it's obviously useful for project managers. So here we are. So other things that we can do with why we have them, why they're useful, why we should be jumping on this, is that it gives you that option to do a self-assessment against the standard, against the recognised standard. It allows you to identify some skills gap. I mean, the number of conversations that I have with people, not sure about what training and qualifications to do, or what development to do next. Sometimes it can feel like, I'm just doing this because it's the most popular. But actually, you should be thinking about, well, where are my actual gaps? And let me do some targeted training and learning around those things. And then it comes to choosing obviously how to close those identified gaps that you have, which is not just about training. We know that there are lots of other ways in which we can build up our competencies, not all about just going on to training courses. So it's just understanding how we can try to close those gaps. It's always useful to benchmark yourself as well. I've always found with PMO people, they tend to work in an organization where there might not be many of you. So you have no idea how you really stack up against a standard, against a recognized, levels of different types of PMO roles. So it's always useful to think, that actually, yeah, I think I'm doing all right in terms of my competency levels. Self-assessments are also good to find out what you need for the next level up, and we'll be able to show you that today. You will be able to see that in the self-assessment today. So again, it's not necessarily about always climbing the ladder, it's and going up towards the management route. It's just also understanding how you can work as a PMO, administrator or analyst in the different contexts, for example. So it's about trying to understand where you can go next, but understanding what you might need to be able to get there. And we've not finished yet. So there's still some more reasons why they're good for you, which is actually it's really useful to learn what competence actually looks like for your role. We've never been able to do this before. If you've been working in PMO for a while, I think you'll really understand that, we're in a new place right now. We've never been able to do this before. And I think that's a great leap forward for people working in this field. It's always been good for, what other common language and terms that you encounter within a PMO role. Especially great for people that are coming into the profession as they're learning and trying to understand, exactly what the role of PMO is all about and what it is they need to do. You can also use it within your performance review. Even if your organization doesn't have any kind of self-assessments for you, you can actually use the one that you're going to be looking at today within your performance review to have a more meaningful performance review that actually allows your manager to see, your assessment and your gaps and have a really fruitful conversation with them. It's also great for negotiating a salary increase or promotion because there it is in black and white that your competency levels against a standard, a robust standard. It took us 3 years to create this. This is not something that's been done on the fly by night. This is, it really is a marker in the ground for you to be able to press forward with your salaries and promotions. And you can also use it to write your CV or resume. The last out of PMO session that we did, which was available in the members area, we talked specifically about how exactly you can use a self-assessment in a competency framework to be able to do that. So those are some of the things as to reasons why we absolutely think that you should be going for this and using this member benefit that we've put together. So in terms of the self-assessment itself, we think about it in terms of 4 steps in that, and we'll show you exactly some of these aspects of it. So in order to do one for the first time, you really do need to set some time aside in order to be able to do this. It's more about it's the thinking side of it, the reflection bit of it, but I think is the bit that takes time, as does the evidence side of it. I think the selecting and the assessing is probably the quickest part if you've done the reflection and thought about the evidence beforehand. So the self-assessment online, obviously it's the first time you've been able to do this online. Before that, it was only available in the competency framework book. But again, as members, you can also still do it on paper if you want to, because we've actually put in the paper-based self-assessments in the members area as well. So this is what you're going to be doing. It's a 4-step. It's select, reflect, assess, and evidence. And just to give it into a little bit more detail, which is this is pulled out of the book. Can't really expect you to see it because I'm squinting as I look at it. But these are the steps essentially that you'll take as you go through and do your self-assessment. So we'll be looking at the role profiles, the indicators, the levels, the evidence, and the knowledge, skills, and behaviours. We're nearly there, you're chomping at the bit to have a look, but let's just set the scene of what we're using here. So this is not something that we have created technology wise. We're using a organization and partnered with an organization called Comaea or Comaea. We just never know. We just switch between the two, don't we? But they are competency framework experts. So a lot of organizations use Comaea already to host their own competency frameworks, as well as picking them up from professional bodies from various types, not just project management, from all walks of life, all different kinds of industries. So we're using their platform because that allows us to be able to put together our PMO competency framework. So we're using it because we want to be able to give people the ability to be able to do this. So this was also for organizations to be able to do the assessments as well and look at it from a team aspect, which we can show you later. We also wanted to just test the market for this to see whether people were going to be engaged to do it, to find benefit from it. And this was I must admit, it was one of the quickest ways that we could also bring this to you, because we were chomping at the bit. The book had been released and we really did want to just move on it, and this is how one of the quickest ways we could do it as well. It also allows us to do some insights, which we'll be able to do the more people that use it, totally anonymized, but it'll give us a really good insight, I think, into the various levels around PMO, different roles, and those insights could be really useful for us in terms of helping to push the profession on further. And one of the other things as well that Comaea will allow us to do is we'll be able to put together some interesting bits of learning that go with it, which we'll show you later. So it's a tool that allows us to put in the PMO competency framework into the tool, and then the members of the House of PMO can then go in and do a full assessment, or you can do it against a particular role profile. So without further ado, I think what we should do is get into a demo, I think. I mean, this is what you'll see when you first come into it. There's your login. We're going to look at getting started, look at a full assessment, role profiles, and do some looking at the evidence and documentation. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So
I'm just going to log into our test account for Geraldine, who is a PMO administrator in a portfolio management office.
Right. Is she any good?
We don't know yet. She's got to do her assessment.
Excellent.
So the first thing you'll see is our home screen. It's just a bit of information about how to get started once you first log in. But the most important tab is our My Competency tab over here. And the first thing that everyone will see when they first log in is the full competency framework. So everyone gets every single competency in all of the contexts, and you can obviously go through this and do a full assessment if you like, either in every single context or just the context that you work in. We're not going to show a full assessment today because, as we said, it should take a couple of hours to spend the time thinking and processing everything that you do. So the next most important bit is to look at your specific job role and do an assessment within your role. So you can click on Add Job Profiles on the left-hand side over here, and I could just search for my job role. So I am a PMO administrator in a portfolio context, and that is my current role. But I can also look at future job roles. So I can say that, well, in the next couple of years, I'm on track to be promoted up to be a PMO analyst within my same PMO. And that's my career step number 1. And I might say that in 5 or 10 or 15 years, or however long I'm working in the industry, that maybe one day I'd like to be a PMO director, either within the portfolio or in a centre of excellence. And I can add that as a more aspirational role and a long-term goal. And then once I save that, it will just jump me to my current role. So I can now look at the very specific competencies that are required to be a PMO administrator in a portfolio management office. And if I just look at the first one, I can see all of the indicators there for this competency. So I can look through, I can make sure that I can do everything in foundation, I can do everything in intermediate, and I'm not quite there with advanced. So I'll give myself a self-assessment level of intermediate for that. And you can see that it matches up here with my job level requirement. And I get a nice little green tick to show that I've achieved that one. And then what you should do is then look and see what have you done in your role to prove that you've attained this competency. So I can add some comments. So I can say that I've managed to onboard some staff in the last recruitment drive, and I've done that. So that proves I can do some administratory stuff. And I've also got a message here from my manager, because I'm set up within an organisation. And my manager's also provided some of her evidence on how well she thinks I've done in that competency. And then for more kind of concrete evidence, I can also upload a document. So I might choose to upload the onboarding process for the organisation to show that I've managed to do that successfully, and that comes up all linked to the competency. So that document is now held next to that competency, so anyone can review it. And I can then go through the rest of my, if I just very quickly have a look at what Geraldine's good at. So you can fill out the rest of the competencies. And then we also take a look here at the knowledge, skills and behaviours required for the role. So this is less complicated. There's no different levels. It's not foundation or intermediate. It's just a simple yes or no. But I can still click in and I can look at kind of the full text and double check that I know everything involved there. And I'll just do a quick jump down through these. Just very quickly fill that out. And then what I can do is I can look at how that maps over to my next job roll up. So I can now go to the top right and look at PMO analyst. I can see that because I've already filled out a lot of these competencies, it already overlaps that onto the new requirements for that new job level. So I can see, obviously, there's a lot of new ones because it's a different role, but also some of the ones I already have a higher requirement in the new role as well. But it still holds all my evidence and documents that I have for that competency. So once you've filled this out, it might be a thing that you want to take along to a performance review or a discussion with a manager. And there's a very easy way just to see all of your information clearly. So go to our portfolio section and we can see a full review of my job profile for every single role that I've put on. So obviously I'm doing much better in the PMO administrator role because that's where I am. And I'm not quite there yet for PMO directorship, but I can have a look at my nice little spider chart to see where I'm overachieving, where I'm not quite there. And I can do that for all of the knowledge, all of the skills, and all of the behaviours as well. Just go back. And then we can have a look at, 1 second, just jump back over here. And I think that's it for our first level review.
Okay, all right. So if you just want to show me, Melissa, again, one of the indicators, and we'll just explain a little bit more about what you're seeing there. So when you hit the info guide, what you're seeing is this is in the PMO competency framework book. So whatever you're seeing in the book, you're seeing on here as well. When she's doing it, or when you're doing an assessment, it's always interesting. They're called indicators, so they're not mandatory. It's not a case of you look down that foundation list and you say, I've got absolutely everything. It's not a case of ticking off, every single thing. It is about, it's an indication that these are the kinds of things that you would probably be doing at a foundational level. So again, it's about making doing a self-assessment is not just about just doing ticks in boxes. This is why the reflection side of it and the evidence side of it is the bit that takes a little bit longer, because you yourself will know in your particular role, in your organization, there will be other things that you do in your role that will feel, think about some of the stuff I'm doing. Well, actually, it's probably not foundational level. It feels like it's more intermediate. These indicators are giving you some examples, and you yourself can think about the work that you do and what might be similar. Okay, so back to let's just have a look at what we've just done and what we've just seen as Melissa's taken us through there. We'll come back. So I just want you to make sure we just look at the key points of what you've just seen. So she picked roles. So you can do the full self-assessment. You can go all the way through that entire book. When you first come on, and you know, as Melissa showed you, you can see the entire thing. So you can do that at any time if you wanted to. However, a lot of people find it more useful to pick a role that is more aligned with what you do. Again, we know that not every single role here is going to be 100% matched to what it is you're doing. You pick the things that feel like they're the most aligned. And the good thing about this self-assessment is when she was showing you the current and the career step one, you can actually have multiple current. So for example, if you're a PMO administrator working in a project environment or a program environment, you can switch, you can choose both. You can choose both the PMO administrator project and the PMO administrator program. So you can do both for the current role. So it's not just picking one role for each one of those levels. The other thing that's good here is that you're able to pick those contexts. And what we tend to find is that a lot of people now working in a PMO tend to mix up their context. So I may be working in a project level office, a PMO that's a project management office, but we also do some centre of excellence as well. So again, when it came to picking my roles, I would have PMO administrator project and PMO administrator centre of excellence. So I could do the competencies against both of them. So it's the context as well that you're thinking about. And also the progression, as I said, you can pick multiples. It doesn't have to be one. You don't have to pick any at all. You can just purely do it on the way you are currently. So again, just thinking about how you can use it. Like I said about the indicators, anything that if you don't have the book, you can, all the stuff is there. You can read it without the book. But if you do have the book, obviously it might be a little easier on the eyes. But again, everything is there to allow you to do that judgment call. And you can do your self-assessment while you're in that indicator, or as Melissa showed you, when you can see all the indicators, you can literally just go down that list and choose them. When it comes to skills, knowledge, skills and behaviors, it is just a simple yes or no, because there can't be a foundational or advanced levels or whatever for these types of things. So it's a little bit more, it's a broader thing that you're trying to capture here. And I think what you're seeing when you do the self-assessment against a particular role, what is interesting is it's showing you the knowledge, skills and behaviors that are deemed to be the most important, the key ones for those particular roles. So again, it's a simple yes or no, but again, you make a judgment call on, well, actually, I feel like I've got quite a lot of skill around this, and that's a definite yes. If only it was a maybe or just halfway, but you know, it is a very yes or no thing. And again, it's just to allow you to bring in those different dimensions that we know goes into making you know, anybody who works within the PMO. It's not just about, you know, the technical side of it. It is absolutely about the behaviours as well, and the other knowledge that we have about working in organisations. And then there's the evidence. Again, really great to be able to put things in as you go through your career. And this is not just about doing something, you know, doing a self-assessment once and then leaving it. This is about doing it every quarter or, you know, every 6 months, or, you know, there's certain times of your career where doing a self-assessment not only allows you to, you know, put that evidence in when it's fresh. It just means that when it comes to do things like, you know, looking for a promotion or maybe moving into a new job, you've got all the stuff there. It's fresh in your mind. That's something that you did 6 months ago you might have forgotten about. So it's something that you can continuously go in there and add in. We looked at the reporting side of it. Can we just have a quick back into the demos, because I know it was a quick
more detailed.
Yes, a more detailed one, if you wouldn't mind, please. Should we look at let's have a look at a PMO analyst maybe? Yeah, this time. Yeah.
So we are going to have a look at Richard Moss.
Richard Moss, is he any good?
He's less good than Geraldine. He's got a few more gaps in his competencies, as you can see on our job level requirement column. There's a few more red letters than green.
So when we're looking at this, so he's a PMO analyst. Can you see the top right corner there? He's a PMO analyst in the portfolio type role. That's his current role. So for Richard is assurance stuff It's not great, is it?
Or his P3M administration.
Well, it probably is great. It's just probably just needs a few little flourishes to bring him up to.
It's a little bit of training, a little bit of time spent on
it. Yeah.
So there's a couple of bits that you can do when you're not quite hitting your assessment level. So we'll look at the first bit, is this gap closure tab up here, where it lets you set kind of intermediate target levels. So you can see that Richard is only at a foundation level on his P3M administration, and he needs to be advanced in order to get the competency for his job role. So you might set an intermediate target of intermediate. Yeah. That was the
second level. Yeah.
A second level target of intermediate, because obviously it's quite a big jump to jump up to. So you might want to just take a small break in between. Make sure you hit the intermediate ones first before you start looking at the advanced indicators.
Well, what's interesting about this is that Richard, as a PMO analyst in a portfolio, actually might say that I don't really need the administration stuff. I don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I've kind of like moved on in my career. So sometimes actually having a recognised gap there is no biggie.
Which is part of the upcoming work of House of PMOs to kind of expand the job roles offered. So we're aware that obviously the 4 roles in the 4 contexts doesn't hit every single person's job role.
Yeah.
But that will all be coming up. So Richard might want to set a few targets, and on his core competencies, he definitely wants to hit his job level requirement. On this next section down, it's not necessarily important to be able to support delivery in every single way. You're not going to be an expert in stakeholder management and facilitation and planning and knowledge management and issue management and all the millions of ways that you can support a project. So he is technically hitting his 5 required competencies here. He's doing absolutely fine in this regard. But there might be a few that he wants to explore more. So he might want to get better at business cases, because that's what he wants to focus on. He might want to take that above and beyond his job level requirement.
Yeah.
And he might be required to do a bit more planning at the moment. So maybe he wants to set a slightly higher target for that one.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for these targets, what you can do is you can go into our guide, and there's an upcoming project with House of PMO to kind of build up a learning catalogue. Do you want to talk about how that will all fit in?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that, because we have that functionality within here, we were thinking, well, what could we do? How could we use it? And think, well, the whole thing about the House of PMO is that it's a community, and if you look at the mission that we have, it's about developing yourself, helping others develop, and helping us to move forward with the PMO profession. And I think one of the things that encapsulates, certainly in the second bit about helping others, it'd be lovely to see recommended learning against different competencies that are in here. And it can be recommended learning of in any form. It could be webinars that we've seen. It could be things that you've written yourself, like on a LinkedIn post or a LinkedIn article, things that we think that would are good for helping others to, okay, so I have some gaps around these competencies. Let me come on to the recommended learning bits and see what others have recommended. We thought that'd be a really nice way forward. So it's going to be one of the projects that we look at in the coming months. And hopefully we'll be able to start populating this part, which will allow you to see things that are, okay, there'll be some formal courses in there, but what about things like TED Talks or so on, that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to be looking at building up in the near future.
And they will also be scattered amongst the 4 levels there. So it's not a one job fits all.
Yes.
And then we'll just take a deeper look at the reporting. So I've got Richard's reporting here for his PMO analyst role. So you can see on his core ones, obviously he's overachieving in a couple. He's great at assurance. He's good at delivery support. It's his P3M administration that is not quite hitting the mark. And then you can kind of look through it, and we can see, again, here, there are definitely ones where he excels at, but you can kind of see where the gaps lie. And again, through the knowledge and the skills and the behaviour. But a really nice part of this reporting, I just go through the full bit, the bit that's about his role, is this gap analysis down here, where you can see kind of this dark line in the middle shows you where your job level requirement is. So you can see where those holes are and kind of where you meet up in a much cleaner way. And that's a very easy thing for you to print off and take that along to performance review or just any kind of discussion about competencies within your team, and kind of compare and look and see where all of that works out.
Yeah. And as you can see, there is no level for the knowledge, skills and behaviours. As we said, it's it's just a very open yes and no, and getting you to think about the things that are key for performing well in the roles that you put in there. So we've got some questions about can we add in additional indicators that are relevant in our organisation? No, you can't. The PMO competency framework in Comaea is the house of PMO competency framework, and you can't be changing any of the stuff that's in there. We'll come on to the organisation view because there is an additional bit of functionality for corporate members. But again, things, because this is a published piece of work, it is the book, and it can't be changed. But there is, obviously, there are different ways that you can potentially do that in the future, but that's where we are right now. And again, can we add in things like different learning opportunities if you're a corporate member? Again, let's show you just a little bit more about what there is available for corporate members. It's perhaps not, we're not there yet, shall we say. It's baby steps, I think, for where we are right now, in terms of just getting to the point where we can just do self-assessments. So in terms of House of PMO membership, it's available for people that have got an online and a full membership, and you'll get that as soon as you become a member, you can gain access to it. There is a difference in terms of corporate members. Corporate members, again, can have their own structure within this system set up, which allows them to have where you've got a PMO team and you have a manager above them that is then able to review the team. So in terms of the organisation, then it's set up that structure that will allow them to see team level, not only allow them to go in and comment and things on those individual assessments. If that manager themselves works in PMO, they can also do their own, but it also allows them to do that kind of team gap analysis of where are we as a team in terms of where's our potential weaknesses, for example, and again different types of reports. So today it's again, that's for the corporate member, because it's an individual setup, but is separate from all the individual members, as it were, so they can have their own kind of manager views of stuff. But today that's it's about doing your assessment against the PMO competency framework as is published. Okay. So getting started, you just need to log into your House of PMO account, and you can navigate to the members area and look at the PMO competency framework, and there's a sign up form there. You only have to complete that, and you will get access to the system. We come back with logins and get you started. There's also a user guide that shows you in a bit more detail all the things that we've shown you today, but you can browse at your leisure rather than trying to see us flicking through things. So in terms of from where from now, it's a case of let's get going. Let's start getting yourself assessed. We're always happy to take any questions and stuff as people are doing assessments, and if you'll see that there is help desk support available for you. But in terms of this session today, it was just about giving you, you can see that it's a simple tool. It allows us to do that first, doing the self-assessment against the standard. It's something we've never been able to do before, and we hope that you can see how that can be beneficial to your PMO career. So in terms of any questions, is there a Comaea competency assessment for other skills other than from PMO, such as business relationship, partnership management, and so on? It's a good question, Edward. Comaea basically, obviously, is a competency framework specialist, And a lot of organizations already have their relationships with Comaea and already use it for their own corporate frameworks and whatnot. So there is a way where you can actually, if you know your organization is already using Comaea, you can add the PMO competency framework to your organization's setup of it. If you are not using something like Comaea already, you can talk directly with them to talk about maybe doing an organization setup. We are only hosting the PMO competency framework. However, I believe that with Comaea, they can add any competency framework that a company has the license to use, which would include obviously other professions, other types of business management, project management, and so on. So for example, we know that there's one organization that already uses Comaea. They're signed up as a corporate member of House of PMO. They're using Comaea with the government framework, and also now they're able to import the PMO competency framework to be able to essentially allow their PMO people to use that alongside the other frameworks. I hope I explained that right, but it's Comaea is I'm not the salesperson, but certainly go and check them out if your organization's thinking along this line. Does this save as you go, i.e. can you go back in and do some and then go back in again and update it? Yes, absolutely. Did we showed a bit about you can look back in time as well, can't you?
Yeah,
I don't think we showed you that, so thanks for that question, Stuart. Well, yes, you can. It holds it. That's obviously one of the good benefits. So yeah, I mean, and equally, I would think that you should be dipping in every time you have any evidence or a document that you kind of want to store, or something that's happened at work that you think, that's a real good job, well done. That's something that I've done for the first time, and I think that were really good. I'm going to go in and just update my self-assessment in case you might as well do it there and then. Do you want to show us something?
Yeah.
Melissa's just going to show us how you can see what's it called, like
Time
travel. That sounds exciting, doesn't it? I don't think it's quite Doctor Who, but
so it won't have a ton to show because obviously the tool's only been up for a week or so we don't have a full 6 months, 12 months history, but you can, if you're tracking over a number of years, jump back at any point to where you've been and then kind of look at where you are now.
What do you think it looks like in terms of, I mean, I know it's is there a possibility to just even,
so you can see here we've got the time travel.
Okay, you're looking at this, sorry, yes.
So yes. I've only jumped back 3 days, so you can kind of see how this profile was built and set up rather than
I'm with you. Okay.
Richard's actual assessment.
So that's a really good one then. So if you go into a performance review and you've done your assessment now, and say your performance review is next June or whatever, you're able to go in and do a self-assessment just before your performance review next year. And actually you can say to your manager, well, look, this is how I've been doing, this is how I'm scoring myself in terms of the difference over the 12 months, which is, I think it's nice. It's a nice little thing. And one of the is a comment from Eileen, it's on the call, is that one of the reasons why we chose Comaea is because it is linked to other competency frameworks and has some great functionality. And we've also got word that it will be as a platform. It is going through a major update later on this year. You won't lose any data or anything like that. It's just that they are bringing some new functionality to it as well, which we're excited to see.
And I think making it pretty.
It does make it prettier. Yeah, we've seen that one. So Alan's got a question. Can a target level be 0, i.e. if that individual competency is just simple, not applicable to me?
Yeah, so you can not set a target, and you can also assess yourself without any, you don't have to put foundation if you're not at a foundation level. Yeah. Obviously you can't change what the job roles target levels are, because these job level requirements are linked to those role profiles, which are obviously set. But if you're doing the full assessment, there's no target there at all. So when you do your self-assessment, it's very fine to say, I'm not competent in this, but I don't need to be.
Yes,
so that's fine.
Which is the example that we had with Richard, that actually he doesn't need to do the administration one, so therefore he's not going to score himself.
Yeah.
and it's not a case of, oh, I've forgotten to do that one. I mean, couldn't you put just not score it, but put an evidence in and just put the reason why you haven't?
Yeah, so you can add comments to anything with or without a level.
Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you. All right. What do you think then? If you're still there and you're on your chats and stuff, what do you think about our first foray into being able to do a self-assessment? Hopefully you can see, because we did toy with spreadsheet, not spreadsheet. So we were really happy with it. We could do this one. In terms of the printouts as well, doesn't it take a record of your evidence as well? You can print that, but it recognises when you've got documents in there and evidence as well, doesn't it?
On the reporting, I'm not logged into a documented one.
Right. Okay.
It does pop up on your reporting.
It does. Excellent. Okay, so we've got some, we always like a spider diagram. And it's really good to that you're liking it, and it's simple. And like I said, we're going to be able to add the learning in, and I'm really excited about that, because I'd really love to see people, even if it is something you've written yourself, a blog post or something, if it, it's, let's get these things submitted, let's have a look, and let's get it populated and really help each other. I think it's going to be a really great and useful tool for members, and hopefully it will mean it becomes a little bit sticky for you as well, because we'll be able to say, oh, there's some new learning in there, you might want to go and have a look. So hopefully we can encourage you to keep it up to date as well. In terms of other questions, we talked already about any more new roles coming out. We've got this project done, completed. The next thing we're doing around PMO competency framework is kicking off the learning side of it and exploring what new roles we wanted to see in addition to the 4 that you see within the book, and that will absolutely be a member benefit, because obviously we're not going to be republishing the book with new role profiles in, but they will absolutely be available to members. 2 projects to be kicked off, and I'm hoping that people feel wanting to get involved with us, because we obviously we're really passionate about what we're doing, and it all feels like it's going in the right direction. So any other thoughts from you, Melissa? Are we done? Yeah?
Not yet, because we obviously have lots more roles and learning to add. For now.
For now, we're done. Thank you very much for giving us your time this lunch hour, if you're in the UK. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you later. And just remember that as soon as you sign up for this, you do get a user guide. There is some help available, so it's not just this video. So have fun. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.